There is a file on you, not in dusty government cabinets, but in heaven's immortal archives. This dossier, etched before time began, outlines a power so vast, a destiny so deep, that every force of evil, every whisper of the adversary, has collaborated from the day you were born to make you forget it ever exists. If you've ever felt like an outsider, an alien in your own flesh, always misunderstood and longing for something more deep, listen up. It's not your imagination. This is not a weakness in your psyche. It's a heavenly memory, a sacred echo of the spiritual warrior you were meant to be, attempting to burst through the static of a world built to keep you sleeping. Don't click away. Stay with me because, in a few minutes, the key that unlocks that cosmic file and releases the person you were always meant to be will be put straight in your hands. This is your activation. Did you not feel them watching you? They are looking at you not because you are a threat right now, but because you have forgotten the holy danger you once posed. You have forgotten the weight of the weapon you were meant to wield. Could you sense it? That faint but irrefutable rhythm in your soul, like a holy pulse ramping up speed. Something deep inside your carefully conditioned psyche, long hidden under layers of doubt and dread, has just been reawakened. It has just recalled what it's like to be genuinely, magnificently alive. You've spent years, if not your whole life, thinking you're invisible. You wandered around your own life like a ghost in a machine, apologizing for your own being, for inhaling air you had been duped into believing didn't belong to you. You made yourself tiny, lowered your own light, and retreated to the shadows, hoping not to disturb. But here's the twisted and wonderful reality they never wanted you to know. You were never really invisible. You were categorized. You were sealed for a reason. Every restless night, when your mind raced with thoughts too keen, too big, and too frightening for a complacent world, was a sign of your divine destiny. It was categorized. Every time you bit your tongue while holding the capacity to destroy illusions with a single, anointed truth, the gods recorded your restraint. Classified. Every grin you wore like a mask while your soul shouted for a spiritual revolution, a total overthrow of the ordinary, was also categorized. They do have data on you, but not in the way you believe. Heaven has maintained a record, a dense and thorough dossier, chronicling the version of yourself that you buried alive out of fear and compliance. The version that envisioned spiritual triumph rather than worldly compromise. The version that calculated the road to destiny rather than giving in to happenstance. The one who would have lit the whole world on fire with divine truth simply to see the flames of resurrection flash in their eyes. That is the version of you that the kingdom of heaven want to awaken. That is the fighter they are seeking. While you've worked hard to shape yourself into something this fallen world can accept, your actual spiritual identity, your shadow warrior, has been silently laboring in the background. It's been taking notes. It's been accumulating intelligence. It has been gathering data from every betrayal you swallowed as a lesson, every insult you took as a test of fortitude, and every dream you gave up not to make others happy, but because you were taught it was impossible. And now is the moment for heaven to access that archive. Since your inner warrior is aware of certain things, it can detect a phony grin, a spirit of dishonesty, before it is completely developed. It can foresee treachery 3 moves ahead, detecting alterations in the spiritual milieu before anyone else recognizes a conflict is taking place. It understands the exact words, the anointed truths, that may break a person's false world and set them free. It whispers these methods to you in the hallowed calm of 3 a.m. as you look at the ceiling, wondering why you feel so empty and unsatisfied. But did you disregard it? You listened to the world and classified heavenly insight as negativity. You sought to dismiss it with hollow affirmations. You buried that sacred fire behind a mountain of self-help books, transforming your most powerful spiritual weapon into your biggest cause of guilt. And that, sadly and gloriously, is exactly why you are being recruited right now. Not because you are unique in the eyes of the world, but because you pose a threat to the dominion of evil. You are more dangerous than you think. Your therapist, with good intentions, advised you to make peace with your darkness. Society ordered you to repress it. Your family may have urged you to just be nice, but a heavenly agency, the command center of heaven, would instruct you to sanctify, consecrate, and weaponize it for God's glory. Because, while most people are satisfied to play home with their conscious, surface-level thoughts, you control the basement of your soul. And in that basement, within that wonderful, chaotic, strong underworld of your brain, there is someone the adversary cannot control. Someone they can't anticipate. Someone who recalls the raw, untamed, wonderful force of being fully free in both spirit and truth. So, are you finally prepared to face your heavenly handler? Or will you continue to hide behind the shallow, comfy falsehoods you speak at dinner parties? The world has systematically conditioned you to think that the most intriguing aspect of yourself is the mask you wear, the well-crafted identity you exhibit. But deep down, in the areas you don't speak about, you know it's all a show. For months, if not years, you've sat in a nice chair across from someone with kind eyes, framed certificates, and a fatally naive faith in the world's concept of human decency. They've carefully listened to your anger issues, your trust problems, your debilitating propensity of overthinking, and, with all good intentions, classified them as defects, dysfunctions, and things to be corrected. But what if I told you they had everything backwards? What if everything they've been attempting to fix about you wasn't broken in the first place? What if it was your God-given arsenal? That righteous wrath they want you to control? That isn't dysfunction, it's gasoline. Spiritual gasoline that is high-octane, unfiltered, and unstoppable. Every act of contempt, every casual dismissal, every time someone treated you as if you were invisible, your soul was not just injured. It was also collecting notes, generating spiritual pressure, and alchemizing humiliation into divine power. While they had you do breathing exercises and count to 10, your righteous wrath was silently hardening into heavenly plan. That paranoia they wished to treat? What about those trust issues they said you had to overcome? That is not a disease. It is spiritual intelligence collecting at its best. It is a talent of discernment. Your soul learned long ago to detect the tiny quiver of a lip, the pause in a phrase, and the faint spiritual stink of treachery far before anyone else could. And you were taught that you had to tackle that problem? No, that's a superpower. And then there's your amazing, wonderful, and divinely complicated intellect. The one that never stops running scenarios. The one that computes 17 alternative outcomes before most people realize there's a problem. They call it anxiousness. I call it tactical supremacy. While the rest of the world wanders aimlessly, equipped with rose-colored glasses and meaningless platitudes like everything happens for a reason, you have been unknowingly honing psychological and spiritual warfare talents that professional operators would admire. You know intuitively how to blend into a throng and become invisible when required. You know how to grin while quietly plotting the total destruction of a demonic fortress. You know how to feed people the precise phrases they want to hear, while your genuine ideas and tactics are hidden away in that secret, hallowed vault within your soul. They are not defects. These are sanctified weapons. But society, oh, this broken system, needs you weak. It required you to be obedient, apologetic, and completely harmless. It required you to channel your heavenly energy into self-improvement programs that concentrate on smoothing off your edges rather than constructing spiritual empires. So they persuaded you, via 1,000 subtle signals, that your sharpest edges were dishonorable. They characterized your ruthless, divine reasoning as coldness, your miraculous capacity to see through masks as cynicism, and your resistance to be duped, your God-given skepticism, as trust issues. And you, in your innocence, believe them. You've been declawing yourself for their convenience. You've been defanging yourself to ensure their protection. You've been lowering your blazing light so they can sleep well at night, unaffected by your potential. But your inner fighter, your genuine spiritual self, has not forgotten. It has meticulously recorded every single compromise. Every time you bit your tongue instead of stating the harsh reality. Every time you chose false peace while a just triumph was within reach. And now it is time for a miraculous status update. This is what your holy file says. When fully awakened, this psychological and spiritual profile poses a significant threat to the enemy realm. Due to years of societal conditioning and therapeutic suppression, it is now only running at 12% capacity. Assets demonstrates exceptional emotional intelligence, supernatural pattern identification, and divine strategic thinking ability. Warning: the subject becomes immensely more successful and dangerous once they stop worrying about being nice and start thinking about being productive for the kingdom. So the real question isn't whether you're ready to join this almighty army. The issue is whether the systems, powers, and principalities are prepared for what occurs when you finally realize who you are. The instant you stop apologizing for the space you inhabit, you pose a direct challenge to every demonic system designed to keep you little, quiet, and drugged. If this message ignites something within you, if you feel the bonds loosening, please know that this is a warrior community. Subscribe to God Connection now and click the notification bell, for this is just the beginning of your activation. And if you feel compelled to support our effort and help us reach out to other awakened warriors like you, consider becoming a partner in this heavenly enterprise. By clicking the Super Thanks button below and making a $10 donation, you are not just supporting a channel, but also backing a spiritual revolution. Your gift allows us to keep the torch burning and communicate this liberating truth to a world in dire need of it. Now, let us begin with your briefing. Listen closely, Agent of Light. Yes, it is who you are. It's time we spoke about why your activation is vital. Why every institution you've ever been taught to trust has been working hard, intentionally or subconsciously, to keep you drugged, docile, and controllable. This is classified knowledge for the awakened soul, so sit down and pay attention. The world's civilization is based on a single, pernicious principle: keep the lions persuaded they are sheep. And you, my buddy, have been one hell of a lion, grazing among them, claiming to like the taste of grass, pretending not to have fangs and claws. But here's the reality they don't want you to know. Every lecture on thankfulness, every count your blessings sermon aimed to make you complacent, every corporate compliance program, and every political speech about being satisfied with your lot, it's all a type of spiritual sedation. Because, deep down, the architects of this system understand what happens when someone like you stops asking for permission and begins claiming what is divinely yours. The whole economic system depends on your compliance. It all hinges on you thinking that you deserve what you have and nothing more. Because if you ever realized your true, God-given market value, if you ever truly understood the leverage your anointed mind possesses, if you ever stopped accepting the scraps they throw at the table and demanded the feast that is your birthright, the entire fragile structure would collapse. The social hierarchy, with its imagined ladders and glass ceilings, flourishes only when you agree to stick to your allotted lane, accept your fictitious betters, and embrace the illusion that confidence is arrogance and moral aspiration is avarice. They've already seen what occurs when someone with your spiritual profile violates those man-made standards. It leads to a revolution, not with firearms or turmoil on the streets, but with something much more powerful and destructive to their control: a psychological and spiritual revolution. You, agent, carry something they cannot make or contain. You have the God-given capacity to think independently, to detect patterns that they have spent decades and billions of dollars attempting to conceal, and to challenge the narratives that they have devoted all of their efforts to maintaining. Your inner warrior has been silently preparing a case against the whole system all along. It documented every time they urged you to be realistic about your God-sized dreams. It logged every time they rationalized corruption by saying, "That's just how the world works." It also documented every time they made you feel guilty or selfish for seeking better, for trying to break away from mediocrity. Your soul chronicled everything, and you're starting to see why they required you to be so little. People like you don't merely change their own life when they awaken. You cause a chain reaction. One awakened lion does not just depart the troop of sheep. It demonstrates to the remaining sheep that they were lions all along. And that is why your recruitment and activation are not optional. It's crucial. It is not just for your personal emancipation, but also for the gradual dismantling of every institution that relies on your subordination. Your supervisor, who underpays you, relies on you feeling you're just fortunate to have a job. Your government, which burdens you with taxes and restrictions, requires you to believe that you owe them your unquestioning work. Your society, which determines your value based on your compliance, badly wants you to strive to be normal. However, with your classified spiritual profile, you're going to shatter normal wide open. And that scares them, because when you stop apologizing for your existence, you don't simply take up space. You grow until you control the whole spiritual environment of the room. When you stop being thankful for crumbs, you expect the whole meal. When you quit acting little, you realize how powerful your heavenly effect is. And that, agent, is why you are required. Not because you are unique, but because you are dangerous. And the most dangerous thing about you right now is that you finally realized how deadly you are. That memory, which you buried behind layers of politeness, social training, and repeated, unnecessary apologies, is now returning. And once it has totally broken the surface, there is no turning back. The mission parameters are basic but not easy. Stop being manageable. Stop being predictable. Stop being little. You've spent your whole life being taught to shrink, dull, and make yourself acceptable to a world that does not deserve your light. However, the activation process demands the exact opposite. It necessitates the full implementation of everything false, frail, and artificial about you. Are you prepared for activation? Then here's your first official assignment. Kill who you were yesterday. No, not in metaphor. Literally, I want you to embody that version of yourself. You assumed this would be pleasant, didn't you? You expected us to sit here and speak about gradual transformation, throw in some affirmations for the mirror, and perhaps raise your self-esteem with some feel-good mantras. You're incorrect. This isn't treatment. This is not comforting. This was an assassination. And the objective is the counterfeit you, not the genuine you, the fighting spirit, but the phony version you've been carrying about like a corpse in masquerade. Look in the mirror tonight, agent. Look closer. That's not your true face. That's your mask. The meticulously prepared grin that softly pleads, "Please like me." Those eyes that apologize before your lips even moves. That stance that says to the world, "I'm harmless, I promise," is not you. That's the enemy. That is the version of you that has infiltrated your own life, a traitor to your own cause. The one who pleads for permission to exist, who says sorry for having ideas, who retreats every time a voice is raised, who chooses false peace over righteous triumph and capitulation over power every time. That version must perish. Not tomorrow, not someday when I'm ready. Now, because here's the harsh reality about change that no one ever tells you. It's not addition. It is a substitute. You don't build confidence on top of weakness. Self-esteem does not go down well with self-doubt. You do not combine the old and new you. Real, long-lasting, divine change is a severe, complete, and merciless replacement. The person who enters tomorrow cannot coexist with the one who passed through today. One of them has to be removed. And because you're here, still listening, and something deep within you is screaming for freedom, we both know which one you've already decided to delete. So, let's get surgical. Is there a part of you that desires the approval of unimportant people? Terminated. That part of you that trembles at the prospect of conflict? Eliminated. Is there a part of you that would rather be liked than respected? Executed. Every time you say yes, despite your spirit screaming no? Dead. Have you ever smiled pleasantly while someone degraded your spirit? Gone. Every time you gave up your God-given authority to safeguard someone else's vulnerable comfort? Erased from the records. That is the method. That's the purging. And if you've been wondering why you felt so empty and hollow for so long, the explanation is shockingly easy. You've been living as a ghost of yourself. You have walked the planet as a sanitized, socially acceptable, and neutered version of your own divine might. You have become a shell, a ghost of who you were meant to be. But the genuine darkness, the actual warrior, the one they sought to bury and encouraged you to dread, has never left you. It's been waiting. It has been watching. There has been some planning. It recalls who you were before they tamed you. placed you on a leash of social acceptability, and told you that your teeth were designed for smiling rather than biting back against the darkness. That shadow warrior has not gone dormant. It has been planning a hostile takeover of your life. And now the moment has arrived. This is how genuine elimination looks. Not self-help, not self-improvement. It is a harsh execution of every false version of yourself in order for the genuine, untamed, unruly, God-anointed you to emerge from the ashes. Tomorrow morning, when the sun rises, you will not be the same person you were. That timid version of you, the one who was always concerned about what others thought, the one who based their whole life on the frail approval of individuals who were hardly worthy of your attention, is buried in the past. That version that apologized for wanting more, for dreaming too big, and for daring to go outside the narrow cage they made for you has already been marked as terminated, executed, erased from the records. Why? Because the task parameters have changed, agent. We are no longer in the business of using affirmations to heal spiritual wounds or gentle therapy to soothe deep-seated fears. We are not here to hide weakness under pleasant words and call it development. No, this is not healing. This is war, and war necessitates eradication. Understand this clearly. We are not restoring your former self. We're not polishing up a mask and claiming its genuine flesh. We're carrying out a full-scale surgical attack against the phony identity you've been using for so long that you forgot it wasn't you. And when the dust settles, when the smoke from this internal spiritual conflict clears, the image in the mirror will no longer be the person you once knew. They won't seek for permission. They will not apologize for being. They will not shrink or soften in order to make others comfortable. They will not conform to anyone's comfort level. They will only grin. And this time, it won't be the artificial grin, the please like me smile, or the don't hurt me smile. No, this will be a grin of recollection, a grin that says, I know exactly who I am in God now, and nothing or no one can stop me. So I ask you one last time, agent, are you ready to kill the version of yourself that never actually existed? Because this isn't theory. This isn't a metaphor. This is not a pleasant and comfortable discussion on self-love. This is an execution, and once the trigger is pulled, there is no going back. There is no going back to the comfy cemetery of mediocrity. There is no escape to the illusory safety of being little, controllable, and predictable. The old you died today, and tomorrow, the true you, the one who has been waiting, watching, and polishing its sword, will awaken. While the rest of the world studies how to be pleasant, how to shine just enough to be noticed without being frightening, you will learn how to become unstoppable. And inevitability does not ask. It doesn't wait. It doesn't beg. It consumes. Now, let us enter the phase that they never intended you to reach. The elimination is concluded. The old you has died. Good. Let's speak about what fresh things you can do. Most individuals, the predictable herd, spend their whole lives performing. They beg to be loved. They memorize charm as if it were a textbook. They practice their grins in the bathroom mirrors until their faces hurt. They study tone, intonation, and timing, honing the skill of being understandable to others. They laugh at jokes that ruin their souls. They agree with beliefs that make them physically ill. They have perfected the technique of being invisible while urgently attempting to stand out. Their whole lives have been one continuous, miserable audition for the favor of others. The issue is that they believe that is strength. What about you? You are no longer most people. You have broken free from that pitiful loop. You've stopped auditioning. You've stopped asking for applause. You've stopped striving to earn the right to be yourself. You are no longer playing their game. And you are absolutely not bound by their feeble, man-made regulations. While others squander their valuable time and energy attempting to win hearts, you will dominate brains. While they focus all of their efforts on being liked, you will learn how to be respected and, when necessary, obeyed. There is a vast difference between manipulation and influence, and you are going to embody it. Manipulation is a tool for the weak. It's what desperate, insecure individuals do when they lack the strength to tackle the situation directly. It's sly, flimsy, and dishonest. It is the evil art of deceiving people into temporary obedience. But influence, true, heavenly influence, is a very other domain. Influence does not plead. It doesn't sneak. It doesn't need gimmicks or tricks. Divine impact occurs when your mere presence, imbued with the power of heaven, bends the spiritual environment of a room. It is what occurs when resisting the truth you hold seems like a total waste of energy. Influence is when people agree with you before they understand why. It is when your words, imbued with strength, cut so profoundly and cleanly through the world's cacophony that no other option becomes logical. Compliance seems like the only logical, natural choice when you have the energy, tranquility, and unwavering confidence in your God-given identity. Agent, that is where you are going. That is the mission, to become so unstoppable, irrefutable, and truly yourself that the world has no idea how to oppose the divine purpose pouring through you. To become so harmful to the current quo that every diabolical structure that formerly relied on your obedience collapses in your wake. To embody such merciless, divine honesty that the institutions designed to keep you little and quiet begin to crumble under the spiritual weight of your presence. It's no longer about being liked. It's no longer about being accepted. This is about being spiritually unstoppable. You're going to become unstoppable. Let me demonstrate how this works in the real world. Your inner warrior, or shadow self, is neither a nebulous concept or a lyrical phrase. It is a very advanced spiritual intelligence network that has discreetly recorded every aspect of human activity for years, preserving patterns like secret data and analyzing motivations like a surveillance system. It studied people while you were busy smiling pleasantly, acting small, and convinced yourself you were simply being nice. But the warrior never fell asleep. It was watching. It was cataloging. It meant creating a thorough psychological profile of everyone around you, including their anxieties, insecurities, blind spots, secret desires, and hidden vulnerabilities. Now, agent, it's time to use that intelligence. Consider that colleague who regularly interrupts you in meetings. For years, you've convinced yourself that's just their personality, that they're just confident, and that you should learn to accept it. Wrong. Your inner fighter already understands the truth. They interrupt you not because they are strong, but because they are afraid of being invisible. It is not confidence, but panic. Panic is also vulnerable. Terrified individuals are the easiest to lead. Here is your new protocol. The next time they cut you off, don't scowl. You don't stutter. You don't argue. Instead, you halt. You allow a tremendous quiet to dominate the air, making everyone uncomfortable. Then you turn to them, look them squarely in the eye, and say calmly, "I'm sorry, did you have anything important to add? Or may I continue sharing my point?" And with that, the whole hierarchy in the room changes. They'll collapse, not because you were loud, but because you remained calm. You used the stillness like a weapon, and sanctified silence is often louder than noise. Agent, this is not manipulation. It's not deceit. You are not pretending to be someone else. This is psychological and spiritual positioning, firmly asserting your proper, God-given authority so that others are forced to naturally adapt around you. And here is when things get even more risky for them. Most individuals spend their whole lives striving to be predictable. They feel that predictability equals trust. They believe that anticipating one's next step would keep people safe. But predictable individuals are not remembered. Predictable individuals do not get true respect. Predictable individuals blend into the background and die undetected. Unpredictable individuals, on the other hand, have the ability to redefine whole dynamics. They're remembered. They are revered. They are occasionally feared. Your inner fighter already knows this. It understands chaos theory instinctively. It understands that even the tiniest, most unanticipated shift in your conduct may cause shockwaves across someone else's mind. A pause in which others expect you to talk. A grin when they expect you to be angry. A solemn hush in which they anticipate a defensive justification. They anticipated an emotional eruption, but instead received a quiet, surgical query. In human relationships, these little, planned interruptions function similarly to nuclear bombs. They compel others to reevaluate who you are, how they should interact with you, and how they should place themselves around you. That is not just strength, it is divine strategy. Consider that coworker who is infamous for grabbing credit for your efforts. The old you would have sulked quietly, perhaps complained to a helpless HR department, or wrote a well-worded, passive-aggressive email that no one would remember an hour later. However, the operational you takes a very different approach. When they do it again in public, you do not blow up. You don't ask for recognition. You wait. You allow them to conclude their little act. And then, calmly and clearly, you add, "That's an interesting point of view. My experience working on that project was quite different." Then you stop talking. You let the stillness spread. You let them scramble. You allow them to dig their own grave with their frantic, defensive justifications, while the rest of the room starts to really question their account. You do not need to beat them. They defeat themselves. That is the key to real, heavenly influence. The most severe blows are usually self-inflicted. All you have to do is present yourself as a source of truth and authority and allow it to happen. This is exactly when you become dangerous, because you will not respond like most people do. Push them, they push back. Shout at them, they yell louder. Insult them, they defend themselves. Reactions are predictable. Reactions are controllable. Reaction indicates weakness. But you, agent, are being taught to react instead. To choose. To keep your fire going till the most important time. Strike only when it fits your divine purpose, not when your transient emotions are aroused. That manipulative ex who continues to try to drag you into their previous web of drama? The old you would have engaged, debated, and attempted to justify your point. What about the operational you? You do not get furious. You don't protect yourself. You just become unavailable. No access. No energy. There is no battlefield. They can't combat what they can't reach. They will wither and fade away because their poisonous game needs a player, and you have irrevocably left the game. That is the difference between being defensive and inevitable. Previously, you fought conflicts on other people's terms. The operational you only fights wars that you have already won. You don't squander ammo. You don't squander energy. You don't squander your anointing. Soon, the rest of the world will take notice. They'll start muttering to each other. There's something different about you. I can't quite read you anymore. You make me uneasy. That's not an issue, agent. That's the whole purpose. Nervous individuals don't underestimate you. Nervous individuals will not disregard you. Nervous individuals will not forget you. Nervous individuals think twice before attempting to cross you. That is respect. That's dread masquerading as interest. And this is actual power. Welcome to the dark arts of spiritual warfare, agent. Your categorization is no longer theoretical. It's practice. This is the point at which the shallow end of the pool transitions into the deep end. And you must grasp this. Traditional morality is sometimes a luxury for the secure, insulated, and comfortable. Those called to tremendous triumphs for the kingdom cannot always afford them. Most people will leave right now, shaken by the harsh truth of what supernatural power looks like when stripped of its religious illusions. What about you? You are not going back. You've come too far. You've already killed the old version of yourself. You've already taken the road of divine inevitability. This is a psychological and spiritual battle, agent. This is your initiation. And from now on, nothing about you will be predictable. This is where the majority of folks turn back. This is where they shift uncomfortably in their seats, where their hands begin to fidget and their voices tremble as they whisper, "I'm not comfortable with this." This is where they retreat back into their neat, tidy little moral boxes, where they desperately hold on to the illusion that being good is more important than being effective. They persuade themselves that goodness is its own reward, and that virtue alone can transform the world. And then they go back asleep. But you're still here. You're still listening. You're still hungry. Good. Because now we must enter area that Sunday school never mentioned. We must address the facts that therapy sessions are intended to carefully avoid. We need to investigate what every genuinely strong, world-changing individual has always understood but would never say out loud. The world is not split between good people and bad people. This is a fairy tale we tell youngsters to help them go asleep. The world is split into two groups, effective and ineffective individuals. That's it. And morality. Oh, that lovely, comforting concept is the lullaby that keeps the people asleep at night. More often than not, it is a control device, a leash disguised as virtue, a series of invisible shackles meant to keep dangerous, strong individuals like you under control and tamed. Let me ask you something, Agent. Do you believe your supervisor is concerned with being a good person when they take your idea, present it as their own, and get a promotion as a result of your efforts? Do you suppose politicians stop at night, filled with remorse about their lack of moral purity, after crafting whole campaigns based on falsehoods, manipulations, and hollow promises? When giant businesses bulldoze whole villages, pollute rivers, and hollow out towns in the sake of profit, do you honestly think they care about the pain they cause? No, of course not. They comprehend what you are just now realizing. Your intentions are irrelevant to the outcome. The universe, as created by God, does not award trophies for simply being a good person. It does not care how kind you are, how gentle your spirit is, or how many times you apologized for something you did not even do wrong. The cosmos, under divine rule, rewards those who are efficient. Nature itself is the greatest example of this idea. Gravity does not wait for saints. Evolution does not consult a board of ethics. Lions do not engage in moral arguments before hunting their prey. A hurricane does not pause to inquire whether you have been a good person this year before flooding your house. Societal morality is a human fabrication rather than an inherent rule of nature, and it was created by the powerless for one reason: to prevent individuals like you from reaching their full potential, to keep the lions thinking they should act like lambs. Your inner warrior has never played that game. It has always functioned outside of the fragile conceptions of good and evil. It does not pass judgment. It does not moralize. It calculates. It asks what works, what does not, what generates results, what pushes me closer to my holy goal. This is what I call level 7 awareness. At level 1, awareness is naive. When someone betrays you, it cries, "How could they? I thought they were a good person." When someone lies to you, it whimpers, "I'm so hurt. I didn't deserve that." When someone tries to destroy you, it pleads, "This isn't fair. I want justice." But at level 7, everything changes. When someone betrays you, you don't collapse. Instead, you gather information. You ask, "How can I use this information?" When someone lies to you, you don't cry. Instead, you take notes. You answer, "Good. Now I know what they are capable of and where their allegiances lie." When someone attempts to kill you, you don't plead for justice from a broken world. You ask, "How can this attempt on my life actually benefit me? What new advantage does their attack open up for me?" Do you see the dramatic difference? Level 1 mind participates in a game on a board created by someone else, with rules meant to cause them to lose. Level 7 awareness completely rewrites the game's rules. You are no longer stuck in their man-made morality. You are not restricted to their cartoon interpretation of reality, which has basic heroes and villains, saints and sinners. That's for bedtime tales. The actual world has an unlimited number of shades of gray. True, effective power exists in that gray realm, which is untidy, chaotic, and uncontrolled. Your inner warrior does not spend valuable energy debating whether something is right or wrong by worldly standards. That's a distraction. It merely poses one question: does this serve my divine purpose? That so-called buddy who only contacts you when they need something? Most people moralize, "That's wrong. They're just using me. I should cut them off." But your awakened shadow warrior sees things differently. It says, "Good. Now I know what they are worth. They have revealed their currency. They have shown me their exact leverage point. That job that underpays you while requiring your whole loyalty?" Most people would complain about justice, exploitation, and how things shouldn't be this way. Your shadow, however, calculates. It says, "Good. Now I know the truth. This is not a relationship of loyalty. It is a relationship of leverage. How can I use this imbalance to my advantage? How can I trade their greed for my gain? What about that relationship that drains your energy while offering you nothing in exchange?" Most individuals are immobilized by guilt, fearful of being deemed selfish if they dare to walk away. Your shadow performs the math. It does a spiritual cost-benefit analysis. It asks, does this relationship serve or sabotage my divine mission? And if the figures do not match up, it severs the ties with the surgical accuracy of a master operator. That agent is freedom, not the superficial freedom marketed on billboards, not the sugar-coated freedom of being a good person who is secretly unhappy. This is real, unadulterated, unbridled freedom. Freedom from the crushing urge must be regarded as moral in a terribly immoral environment. The liberation from the confines of others' expectations. The liberation from the arduous, lifelong performance of ethical purity. And here's the bit that scares them the most. Going beyond their conceptions of good and evil does not turn you into a monster. That's the deception they use to keep you in your cage. It makes you honest, brutally honest, refreshing, gorgeous, and frighteningly honest. Because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer twisting yourself into a socially acceptable form. You're seeing the world as it is, not as they've told you. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. This is why most individuals leave at this point. They just cannot handle the reality. They rely on their morals as a comfort blanket, an excuse for inactivity, and a safety net. However, you have exceeded the threshold. You've entered the gray area. And in the gray, power bends towards you. Because once you stop pretending that your decisions are motivated by moral superiority, you can finally confess what has always drove you. Power, control, victory, control over your own fate. There is nothing embarrassing about it. Indeed, it has everything going for it. Every great leader throughout history understood this principle. Every great entrepreneur and revolutionary who transformed the world worked in the gray area, where efficacy trumped popular favor. They just lacked the confidence to acknowledge it out. But you don't need to lie to yourself anymore. You don't have to hide your need for effect beneath a mask of decency. You don't need to defend the holy fire inside you with false purity justifications. You want everything you desire. You take everything you can earn. You do whatever is required to accomplish your destiny. And you stop apologizing for being a strong human being made in the image of a mighty God. Welcome to Level 7, Agent. The view from this height is breathtaking. But remember this with all of your being. Once you view the world from this perspective, you will never be able to revert to the infantile fairy tales of good and evil. You will only see what is successful and ineffective, what matches with your purpose and what is not. The only issue left is whether you're ready to live with that scary, liberating clarity. This is your call. This is your time. If you made it to the end of this broadcast, your activation is already in progress. Do not let the fire go out. Subscribe to God Connection today and share this video with someone you know who is a lion trying to be a sheep. Your adventure has just started. Accept the warrior inside. The world isn't prepared for you, but heaven is. Assume your authority. We'll meet you on the battlefield. Blessings, Agent. You are dismissed.